ESPN was launched by a group of committed sports junkies. It was funded by an oil company, but yet marginalized by critics and some of the big broadcast networks alike. ESPN actually transformed an American pastime in what is today nearly a $30 billion company and certainly a global brand. I was compelled to write this book because I think most people, when they think of ESPN, they love them for what they do, but they don't necessarily know who ESPN is. And if you think about it, just as athletes and sports are inspiring to fans, somebody who loves organization, somebody who is a student of leadership, I certainly became inspired by having spent nearly 22 years with this incredible story and this incredible company. Well, I have to tell you that my relationship with ESPN, it probably shows that I have a real passion for this organization. And I think one of the reasons I have such a passion is that this is a company that when they first even shared the idea, everybody said, yeah, we know people like sports, but 24 hours of sports, one channel, that'll never work, especially on a cable outlet. Well, if you know anything about ESPN today, you know that it has over 4 or 5 channels, it's got a magazine, it's got restaurants. It really has become this global brand. And as much as I would like to think that I certainly shared some things and hopefully taught some usable lessons for the leadership at ESPN, I certainly walked away with learning a lot that I was able to really apply to some of my other organizational engagements with some of my other clients. Such as, one of the things that I learned about ESPN is that when they would hire somebody, they wanted to make sure that they were a sports fanatic as well, because they knew that that would ultimately translate on the camera, whether it was individuals behind the camera or in front of the camera. If people were not compelled by sports, certainly the leadership of ESPN knew that that would not translate very well ultimately to their product. I also learned that even if individuals say this can never be done or this is really not possible, we've heard all of the cliches, but it was the kind of mindset at ESPN that oftentimes I would watch and I would just be absolutely amazed, oftentimes by the sheer audacity, but oftentimes by the sheer brilliance. When you look at the old revenue models of broadcast networks, there was only one channel. There was only one channel of revenue, and that was being able to create the best product so you could ultimately appeal to advertisers to get as much ad revenue as you can. Well, when it became very clear that ESPN couldn't survive just based on one channel of revenue, they basically turned the whole model on its head and were the first network to ever go to cable affiliates and say, we realize we've been paying you money, but we think we have such a tremendous product here now, we're going to ask you now to pay for our product. Which today, and certainly in today's economic times, is probably why ESPN remains so strong and so profitable, is because they have those two channels of revenue, not just the ad revenue, but also the affiliate revenue. And it was changes like this that even if something didn't work, rather than folding up the tent and retiring and retreating or looking for perhaps another media company to merge with, they continued on with this very spirit that led them to what they are today. And again, it was just an incredible story to be a part of. Well, I have to say, going back to when Bornstein gave me this mandate that I should be the person to really write this book on this incredible company, as an organizational person, I really set out to write a book about business, essentially using ESPN kind of as a backdrop to teach some of the fundamental lessons of great leadership, great management. But as I began to write this book, I realized there's a story about competition. There's a story about sports. There's certainly the sport of business and also the business of sports. So whether you're a fan of sports, competition, if you love media, if you love the product of ESPN, and you certainly like some of the personalities that shine on their airways, I think you really will find this book very inspirational, and hopefully you'll find it a good read. Well, on a final note, I'd like to share with everybody that the proceeds of the profits from this book are going to the V Foundation for Cancer Research, where I'm proud to say 100 cents on every dollar goes towards fighting this dreaded disease. So I would invite you to even look into the V Foundation, perhaps even support the V Foundation, because I know all of us have been touched by this disease. Thank you very much.